My name is Kristen Milstead, and I'm a blogger at the Verbal Abuse and Relationships blog at HealthyPlace.com. And I want to talk a little bit about revictimization, or why sometimes it can feel like we just keep getting involved with abusers or verbal abusers again and again. Because sometimes I have heard people say, well, I just keep picking abusive people. Why do I keep picking them? I thought I was being careful. And sometimes, you hear people sort of victim blame, and they say, well, you just must keep wanting to be in that situation. Sometimes, sometimes we think back, on our past or our childhood, or you hear the theories that, well, if you're primed for it when you're young, then it's easier to get in that situation. And that can be, I think, one of the reasons why. But, maybe you've, been in the childhood relationships, in the workplace with your boss, and that's a really interesting one because we don't get to choose our bosses. So what is it? Why do we keep seeing that sometimes in our world or our relationships, or what's happening? And I read a really interesting quote not too long ago. It was a really interesting article, but there was a really interesting part of the article. And in this article, the author was saying that it's not so much that we are choosing certain people to be in the relationships with, but sometimes what's happening is that we are holding back from being in relationships at all, sometimes trying to heal, or maybe thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm hesitant to be in relationships because of what's already happened. But what's happening is that these really persistent, abusers, and some of them have, narcissistic or psychopathic traits. They know certain ways to break down our barriers, break down our walls that will get us to trust them. Whereas other people, the nice guys, the nice girls, sense our barriers, sense our hesitancy, and they're backing off. They're waiting for us to heal. They're respecting our boundaries. And so, they're stepped back, whereas the ones who don't respect our boundaries, we may not recognize that that's what's happening, but they are doing things like mirroring us, making us feel like we can trust them, saying things like, well, I've been hurt too in the past, or making us feel like we can be very close to them early on. And so we don't recognize the signs until it's too late. And so it's not necessarily us, it's them. It's people who have these abusive tendencies and these abusive personalities, who do recognize that we've been hurt in the past, and so they're sort of coming after us with these predatory tendencies. And so, I thought a really interesting way to view it, and I think it's something to think about the next time I think it's a good way to reframe, first of all, if we've been in situations in the past where we've had more than one relationship, or had more than one situation, or even situations we didn't have control over, like that weren't romantic relationships, where we're wondering, well, how did I even get in that situation? Because I didn't get to choose to be in a situation with that person, but somehow it ended up being a similar dynamic where there was some sort of an abusive, bullying situation happening. Is those types of people sense that this situation, sense something about us, and are able to zero in on how to break down those barriers, whereas other people respect them. And so I think recognizing that can happen, and also being a little leery when you see, hey, some people, when you're interacting with them, some people are respecting those boundaries. And if you see that some people are being, a little bit too friendly, or some people are not respecting, or it's not that they're not respecting the boundaries, it may seem like they're respecting them, but they're being a little too friendly, or I'm feeling myself being a little too trusting, whereas I told myself I wasn't going to get involved, or I was feeling a little bit withdrawn before. That's kind of like a red flag that this might be a person where I wouldn't be repeating the pattern. So that was really kind of eye-opening for me. So I wanted to share that. Maybe it'll help someone else. So thanks for listening. Bye.